bro, you need to become high value. If this were a social media post, it would go viral. I've seen it happen a ton of times. I've written tweets similar to this. I've made social media posts about becoming a high value individual. But if I were to ask you what high value means, what valuable means, would you be able to tell me? Is it about acquiring a certain amount of marketable skills? Is it about how you combine those skills? Is it the result of the other person receiving those skills and how it impacts what you're actually doing for them? Is it a result of how you look to be perceived as a high value individual? Is it your personality? What is it? What about the value of a Ferrari? Is it any more valuable than a Kia Soul to the next person who loves their Kia Soul? What about the value of a human being? Is it as valuable as an NFL cheerleader compared to the person that you just crossed by on the road without looking twice? You see, I don't think anybody knows the real answer to the question of what is value. It makes intuitive sense of what value is, but in a world where we have to become high value individuals with high value skill sets and deliver value to other people in order to make it, we should understand what we are actually doing, what value actually is, to the point of being able to create it. And I haven't seen many, if any, people bring value to the word value. So let's answer this question. What is value? In your brain, the down world is managed by a handful of chemicals, neurotransmitters they're called, that let you experience satisfaction and enjoy whatever you have in the here and now. But when you turn your attention to the world of up, your brain relies on a different chemical, a single molecule that not only allows you to move beyond the realm of what's at your fingertips, but also motivates you to pursue, to control, and to possess the world beyond your immediate grasp. It drives you to seek out those things far away, both physical things and the things you cannot see, such as knowledge, love, and power. That is a quote from the book, The Molecule of More. So, dopamine plays a huge role in how we perceive value, or at least what catches our attention first. So if you're interested in learning about what dopamine really is, I would encourage you to read that book, The Molecule of More. So from a psychological standpoint, or even a cultural or societal perspective, value is determined by dopamine. No, because we would like to think that we spend our time doing valuable things, or at least reading valuable information or seeing valuable information, right? Because we're on social media, we're seeing all the hot women, the fancy cars, the mansions, and that is so far away from us. Remember from the quote, the upworld, something that is out of our control that we want to take control of and possess. And with us as human beings being beings of conditioning, that is, the more things that are repeated over time, the more we value it, or the more that it becomes a part of our own reality. We are culturally and societally conditioned to have a specific viewpoint or point of view of the world, right? You are not living, maybe you are, I am not living in a third world country where I have the perspective of certain things holding more value than where I am right now. Something like rice isn't as valuable as something like a car to me, but to someone else, rice is going to be much more practical and give them a lot more benefits and hold much more value than, let's say, a car. And so I think this is a big problem, because especially in the West, or even in many places like Europe, or really with most people that have a Wi-Fi connection, we are conditioned into believing that these things like fancy cars and mansions and all of this expensive stuff that is shiny on the outside holds a lot of value, and that is something that we continue to desire and want, because dopamine is the desire molecule. It is something that is away from you. So here is a graphic on the psychology of desire. So in the circle that is black, or just an outline, that is you, and then the white circle is a valuable object, or something that is perceived as valuable, and then the line in between shows you how far away that thing is from you. So when it is close to you, and especially once you have taken control or possessed that thing, then it loses its shine. The dopamine response drains really quickly, or it goes down very quickly. You have to switch to the down chemicals, the ones that cause appreciation, and those are like oxytocin, serotonin, norepinephrine. There's a bunch of different ones that play a role in the down network, right? This is what spiritual gurus talk about when they're talking about the present moment and finding appreciation in the now. Those are the neurotransmitters that are evolved, and those are much more sustainable to develop appreciation for the things that you have rather than the things that you don't. So back to the graphic, the further something away is from you, the more of a dopamine response there is, and the more you can tap into that dopamine response, right? You can look at social media at something that is way. There is such a huge gap between you and it. Like you right now driving a Toyota Corolla, and you in the future desiring to drive a Ferrari. And the gap there is what causes overwhelm, right? You can use that dopamine for fuel. Dopamine is not bad. It's only abused in this technological world, right? We evolved to use dopamine for novelty, anticipation, and other things. So let's say when one of our ancestors was crossing by a bush, right? They're conditioned to see a bush as not a part of their survival. It's just an average bush, an ordinary bush. And then one day they cross by it and they see berries, right? There's berries on there. Now that registers in their awareness. They get that hit of dopamine because it's new. Novelty is also a part of this entire process. And so for our survival, we would notice that and we would register it, and it would cause excitement, and it would give us a feeling of, oh, okay, I need to actually know this, I need to understand this, and I need to act on this. But that's just the thing. We figured out what was necessary for our survival, and then if those bushes kept producing those berries, then it would become normal to us, right? We would have to switch to a new mode, and it's not like we got addicted to seeing new berries grow on bushes here and there. But with all of this novelty crossing our screen every single day with new perspectives, new information that we need to act on because there's so many opportunities in terms of making money or just meeting new people or just whatever it is, whatever opportunities present themselves. But then there's also people that are flexing a certain lifestyle that we really desire, but it is so far away from us that can just send us into this downward spiral of overwhelm and anxiety because of that gap, right? We don't have a plan or path to actually bridge that gap and take that dopamine to use as fuel to act in the now with passion and excitement towards, let's say, our vision for the future. This is why I'm so big on creating a vision for your future, is because of the dopamine response, right? You have this neurochemical cocktail in your head of what people call passion for their work because they have a vision of what they are trying to actualize in the now, and all of these different neurotransmitters are going crazy in your brain to help you bridge that gap because you have a desired outcome, clarity on how to get there with a plan, and deconstructed goals reverse engineered from that vision, and priority tasks that you know are going to allow you to hit those goals if you do them day after day after day, and they become conditioned and structured into your routine. Now, this also crosses over with psychic entropy, which we've talked about a few times, which pretty much means everything tends toward disorder. Your mind tends toward disorder. If you do not maintain the order in your mind with vision, goals, priorities, and reminding and acting on them daily, then your mind is going to tend toward disorder. If you don't do it for a week, you're going to be overwhelmed and anxious, and you're going to wonder why you aren't seeing results. It's because you stopped doing the things that got results in the first place, and you don't have that momentum built up anymore. If you want to master marketing, master perception. A better product will always lose to a product that people think is better. Marketers know this well. They are dopamine dealers. Content creators are dopamine dealers. All of those headlines are meant to capture attention, which we will get into in a bit, but you have to understand that a lot of what we see is misperceived, or people can polish things up on the outside like a social media influencer or a headline for an article or even a title for a YouTube video to catch your attention with something that is new and novel and excites you, or just makes you wonder, okay, what is this? What do I not have? What is something that I can have that will make my life better? And so people on the internet understand this well, but so do average Joes that are going to go to the club on, let's say, a Saturday night, right? They put on their best floral shirt, they slick their hair back, they maybe put on a watch, they put on their favorite perfume that was marketed to help you get more girls. And so they understand the game, but there may be something missing there, right? There's the tip of the iceberg, which is usually shallow and catches attention and it's all shiny and flashy. But what is under that? Is there actually depth there? Or is it just the tip and then there's no depth? And then it's impossible to switch from that dopamine treadmill to, okay, I need to actually appreciate this and make it a part of my life. And so to further illustrate this point of how powerful this actually is, because this isn't a bad thing. This really isn't a bad thing. You have to play the game if you are going to thrive in this attention economy. It's just everywhere. Everywhere is somewhere where you can catch attention, right? You have to make yourself look good so that you can actually catch the attention. Because think about it, if you can't even catch the attention, but you have, let's say, a great developed personality, then how in the world are people going to see that personality, right? Some of the best people I know are talked bad about because they play the engagement game online, right? And they are seeing 10 times more success than everyone who thinks that that isn't a game that they should play. I mean, even you look at certain marketers who are like kind of world famous and hated by 50% of the people that see their stuff, but then you watch interviews of them or other things and they're very down to earth, they're very grounded, they're geniuses, they know what they're doing, and they have the depth to back the front they are putting on or the tip of the iceberg that they are showing the world to actually catch attention. And again, to illustrate this further, I'm friends with a few Twitter ghostwriters. So what those are people that write tweets for people. It's like a social media manager, but for Twitter, which is a writing platform, right? And so to understand this, one of the ghostwriters, they had multiple clients, right? They write for multiple people. And so a lot of those people cross over and are in similar domains and talk about the same thing. So what he did was he literally copy and pasted the same body of a post, a thread, which is like an article, short form article on Twitter, where he transferred that over to another one and he just changed the first tweet, the hook, the first thing that people see, the tip of the iceberg. And the difference between how those two performed is one got maybe like 100 likes because the hook was okay, and then the other got 20,000 likes because the hook was amazing and it caught attention and it led people into the thread, right? So the point there is that the value inside does not matter until you catch attention. If you aren't playing the dopamine game, then you're never going to let people see your value. But of course, this can go awry very well, because if you only have the tip of the iceberg and you don't deliver on the value, so let's say someone is on Tinder or Bumble and they are a catfish. That's what I'm trying to say. Like a catfish is where you show and display like, oh, I look like this, and you manipulate like what catches the attention and you make people desire you, but then you show up for the first date and they're nothing what they look like. They have a terrible personality. You guys don't mesh at all. That's not valuable, because this is a universal principle, is that value requires development over time. You think of a pearl from an oyster that is just closed off to the world forever, and then after some time it opens up and you have a pearl, right? The reason people think value is so readily available is because of this whole attention game. So there's good and there's bad things about this game, of course, and you have to be a critical thinker in this age and not outsource your thinking to someone else. You're not going to be able to change the game, but you can change the player. And so with this, I will illustrate this again with internet content, right? Because many of you know James Clear. James Clear is the author of Atomic Habits. A lot of people reference his work because of just how much they loved his book. Now, you think about this and you see a tweet that James Clear writes. He could literally write the word habits, send the tweet, and it would get a ton of engagement. And someone else does that, they are not going to get the same engagement. Why? Because the people that follow James Clear understand that he is an expert and has authority in the field because he has depth in the form of a book. And this is what a lot of content creators and just people in general miss, right? Is they start freelancing or they start posting on social media and they don't take the time to develop the depth not only in themselves, but in their brand and in their content and in their offers, right? You can promise, I will make you $5,000 with this email marketing service, but then if you can't deliver on it because you haven't taken the time, the 3, 6, 12 months to develop your skill set, the depth in order to deliver on that dopamine that you are catching attention with, then that's called a scam. And so in terms of content, it's like people start posting on social media and they post the same thing as someone else or something similar and they're like, oh, okay, I think this will do well, but it doesn't. It's because nobody knows who they are. They haven't changed their perspective on many things by developing depth with long form content, right? This is why I'm so I don't like the advice of, oh, just keep posting TikToks, just keep posting Reels. It's like, that's not going to lead you anywhere good if you don't have a long form blog, a long form newsletter, maybe a podcast or YouTube where you can actually show that you know your shit, right? Because that is what's going to build the true appreciation, depth, and authority that you as a brand and creator or just human being in general are looking for, right? Because it's the same thing with relationships. If you go into a relationship in, let's say, high school, that is almost going to be dysfunctional 100% of the time if you do not take the time to develop yourself. And you can see that there is a trap lying within this whole thing, is that if you latch onto something because of the dopamine at the start, and then you just call it quits, and you don't take the time to build or nurture whatever it is that you have possessed, because remember, the up world is dopamine, and then the down world, the things you possess, are the other neurotransmitters. And so if you don't take the time to actually create that relationship or nurture that relationship, then it's going to go to shit, right? You see this all the time. People get into a relationship, they kind of call it quits on their life, let themselves go, and then their life and relationship just sucks because they fell into that initial honeymoon phase with whatever it is they possessed, whether it be a car, a person. And I'm not saying that you possess a person. We're talking about they are a part of your life. Either way, that is where a lot of the problems can stem, is something's here. The gap is either shortened to the point of I have it now, but I haven't developed the depth that I need to sustain that, or you take the time to bridge that gap and you appreciate the entire process or journey, or as people say, you got to fall in love with the journey. It's exactly what it is. That's what we're talking about here, is falling in love with the journey of developing depth, but also playing the attention grabbing game so that you can actually have people see that depth. So that is it for this video, but I just want to leave with a word of advice that is up to you to take or see as important if you want to see it as important. But that advice is that start being conscious of how you perceive certain things, right? And take the time to try to deconstruct or dissect them. If you get sucked into this cycle of short dopamine hits where you see a fancy car or mansion or even a body with six-pack abs and you're like, damn, I want that, then you either need to bridge that gap through self-education on what it actually takes to get there, which is another form of chasing that dopamine and learning. But you have to understand what it truly takes. You need to break out of this just narrow-minded, closed-minded form of thinking where it's oh, I want this, but I'll never have it. Oh, I want this, but I'm not going to do anything with my life because I don't know how to get there. You have to see what you want, have a desired outcome, and then you have to work towards it and educate yourself on how to bridge that gap or gain clarity on how to get there, and then start acting towards it. Because a huge problem that I see people have is well, I don't know what to do. Well, you need to take that first shallow level thing, because we've talked about this before, but purpose is found through solving your own problems and busting down through those layers from shallow to deep, where you have to just start pursuing something. I don't care if you start going to the gym because you broke up with your girlfriend. I don't care if you start trying to make money because you want a Lamborghini. The only way you are going to figure out what you truly want is by doing what you think you want, and then realizing that's not what you want, and either pursuing it for a different reason, developing a different why because you find it important, or pursuing something else from a more enlightened state or from a better position. It's okay to start over from a better position because you are going to do it better that way. So that is it for this video. Thank you for watching. If you want to learn a new skill, act like I said something that like catches your dopamine and makes you want to go look, but go to the description, check out the 2-hour writer. It will teach you a high value skill with the depth to match in succeeding and just doing something that you want to do with your life with a very foundational skill of any other marketable skill you could learn. There's Modern Mastery, which you can join for $5. That's my community, has a Discord with a bunch of like-minded individuals. If you can't find those people in your local environment or even in your friend group. And then there's a free creative challenge for generating good ideas, good valuable ideas, and developing the depth behind that actually. So if you want a guided practice in doing this, check out the 7 Days to Genius Ideas Challenge. And then there's the Power Planner. So if you want clarity on how to actualize your vision for the future, you can download that. That is also free. And until then, like, subscribe, do whatever you can to support. And I truly appreciate you. Peace.